Welcome to Legal and the Coach, a show set to present local and national trailblazers in business and celebrity circles like authors and speakers who will share their stories, struggles, adventures in life, and keys to their success, brought to you by Tough Talk Radio Network. Here are your hosts, David Altenburn and Brian Kaiser.
Well, for newcomers out there, as well as listeners that have heard our show before, this is David Altenburn, the Legal Eagle, wanting to welcome you to another edition of Legal Eagle and the Coach. I'm honored to be on the show again with my co-host, who is a business coach extraordinaire. As he likes to say, he's the world's greatest connector out there. And isn't that really what it's all about? It's about entrepreneurs out there, business people trying to make their mark in the world, connecting with other people, going through similar struggles of ownership and management of small businesses that are trying to break out in our modern world. You know, the old days where you had a great sales force and you maybe had hard print and you sent your sales force out to your target market, or you mailed things out to your target market to market your business, those days are long over. In today's modern world, the digital world, things move at warp speed with all the tech changes that are out there. I mean, we've got Dropbox out there now that you can drop in all your data about yourself that has exploded on the scene after Facebook exploded on the scene, as LinkedIn explodes on the scene for professionals. And, you know, last show, we try to have this show be all about educating and entertaining and encouraging and exciting the entrepreneurs out there, the 4 E's of our show, to get you to be all that you can be. Well, last week, my co-host, Brian Kaiser, talked about the 3 P's and focusing in on one person, one product, one problem at a time to make your mark. And, you know, the studies show that I'd like to talk a little bit today about networking. The studies show that those that are the most successful out there network more hours per week than the rest of everybody out there in business. So get out there. There's something like 5,000 networking groups in Houston, Texas alone. I mean, there's After Hours Network that an attorney that I know, John King, has run for 25 years plus, that meets on Tuesday evenings in the Galleria. There's Houston Network News that has 3,500 to 4,000 plus members out there. There's Business Network International with chapters all over the city and all over the United States and world. And there's Tough Talk with Tony Gambone, our producer, out in Katy, that now is going national, and looking at a chapter out in the College Station area, looking at a chapter out in Pennsylvania where he's from way back. And so if you get out there, you can get to know other professionals. And they say it's often in your little pitches to other people that you try to basically start with questions, you know. That's an effective way to get people's attention. Like, did you know that, you know, not all lawyers are hourly based, that some work on a contingency, work on just results only, and work on only getting paid when they get results for their clients and putting as much money in their clients' pockets as they put in their own, which is not always the perception out there about lawyers. So that's something that I'll often say to people. Well, Brian, why don't you give us thoughts today as we head into the holiday season here in November? How would you like to start this show out for our audience?
You know, Dave, I think that, you know, I mentioned yesterday that we're ending 2014, and it's time to reflect on something that you mentioned, relationships, and see, do you have the right ones in your business life, in your personal life? Are you creating the right relationships? Are you getting in front of the right people? I think that you really need to take time and reflect as we come to the end of the year and start planning on, you know, what are the steps you're going to take so that you can be more visible, be more productive, and get in front of the right people. I teased everyone on Facebook and told them that we were going to give exceptional value today with our show. And I think you kicked it off excellently by providing some reminders of what we've talked about and focusing in on the networking. And I want to go ahead and just comment on a few of our friends and the exceptional people that we surround ourselves with daily. And you know, one of those people being one of our fellow co-hosts, Michelle Sissom, who was honored with a a Ron Stevie Award for women in business. I want to send kudos out to Michelle for her accomplishments. I want to thank Judy Hoberman for her, with another fellow co-host with her show, Selling in a Skirt, for promoting our show and help getting our message out about what we do and the things that we're trying to accomplish with our vision. And lastly, I want to thank Mr. Mike Calderwood, our first guest that we had on Legal Eagle and the Coach. Yesterday, out of the blue, he promoted our show just because he wanted to give a shout-out and tell everyone about what we were doing, and told Mike that he's a true rock star and really appreciate him getting that message out and helping us do what we do. But
let me comment there for a second, Brian. He really is. Mike Calderwood, as a business coach, really, one of the things he talks about, writes about in a book, is becoming the rock star within you. And he really is truly a rock star out there. And he's been great guidance for us. He's got his own radio show, and he's given some great pointers. So we need to give a shout-out to Mike Calderwood, definitely. And the other thing here, as we're focusing on how you can market yourself, one of the things all the experts seem to say is that it's about you and your story, more so than the product or service that you actually sell. And that's a little bit of a different paradigm. That's a little bit of a shift of the paradigm of the past, where the focus was knowing all the benefits of the service or the product and how it's set apart, when oftentimes, especially for entrepreneurs, it really is about you. And there's a great group, Celebrity Branding Agency, as you talk about folks we try to surround ourselves with. And it's J.W. Dix and Nick Natton of Celebrity Branding Agency, and they've come up with a chart of 144 ways that people can market themselves, anything from webinars to being on a speaker circuit, to trade associations, to direct mail, to print advertising, to email campaigns, to web marketing, to seminars, to going to various events, to getting involved in becoming an author in a collaborative book. And we've both had the honor of being in collaborative books with Tony Gambone, Share Your Message with the World, and with Brian Tracy on some books. You were in the one, Change Agents. I'm in the more recent one, Transform. And what these projects do is they get you out there in visibility and in credibility, and in turn, folks want to do business with you, because they get to know, like, and trust you in all these various mediums. I mean, there's experts out there that talk about making your message clear, making your message consistent. How do you set yourself apart? What niche of the marketplace are you trying to serve? Because we can't be all things to all people. And, there's all kinds of media out there, between the social media things as well as the more in-person type events and ways that you can basically let people know about the service or product that you are trying to provide, the value that you are trying to provide to your customers out there. So we've got a great show today. We're gonna start with a gentleman, Raj, who's going to tell us how he sets himself out there to the world and tries to make a difference. Any final thoughts before we go to our first commercial break?
Just to reiterate, we've taken the time to surround ourselves with excellence, from my coach, Dennis Magoo at Growth Coaching Systems, to the other coaches that we work with in our network. We follow closely to that marketing model put out by the DNA agency, and we've kind of built our focus around that type of a chart and modeling for those marketing pieces. But really,
of course, we've had great help along the way with one of the internet pioneers in Tony Gambone, who's really made this project of internet radio, which again is a new age type way to get your message out, really his baby, his deliverance of excellence out there to folks, all in the spirit of trying to help others become all that they can be. And he's been great help.
Really the point right there, isn't it, David? Helping other people, surrounding yourself with excellent people so that you can better help more people. Isn't that's the reflection for 2014. Have you been able to accomplish that? And if you haven't, then what do you need to put in place so that you can accomplish that in 2015?
Great final thoughts. Let's go to a commercial break.
All right.
Feeling burnt out or lost on where to go next? Feeling like you own a job instead of a business, or that your business is running you instead of you running it? Expert business advisor Mike Calderwood can help. Mike uses a personalized, strategic, and proven approach to help you identify what is and isn't working in your business. He'll then help you establish an action plan so your business can thrive. Mike Calderwood, providing you straightforward solutions to gain a real advantage in your business. Learn more at MikeCalderwood.net.
Join Dr. Alan Simberg and his guests every Tuesday from 3 to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time on Life-Changing Insights. Life-Changing Insights is a show dedicated to providing its listeners with self-improvement information that has a positive effect on an individual's mental, physical, and spiritual being, as well as unresolved relationship issues. For more information or to be a guest on Life-Changing Insights, go to Life-Changing Insights with DrAlanSimberg.com. Life-Changing Insights.
If you know someone who wants the legal A-team on their side, have them call on Altenburn and Associates, the Legal Eagle, today. David Altenburn is an experienced and recognized top lawyer in Houston who will put an eagle's eye to protecting the client's best interests at all times. For any personal injury, family law, or business law concern, Altenburn and Associates can help with our connections that count and make a difference for great results. We work hard for the justice our clients deserve, earning client trust and opponent respect, one case at a time. For legal help, call 281-904-6330 today.
And we are back with Legal Eagle and the coach, David Altenburn and Brian Kaiser here, bringing up our first guest, Raj Kanuru, personal injury attorney out of Chicago. Raj, how are you doing this morning?
Not as nice as you guys, because you guys are a lot warmer weather than us.
Well, we try to keep it that way, but in Houston we have a saying that if you wait 5 minutes, the weather will change.
Yeah,
let me say before we get rolling here, Raj, this is David Altenburn. I do have a little fondness in my heart from where you come, because I did graduate high school outside of Chicago, Illinois. After starting here in Houston, Texas, I did graduate out of Palatine High School. So I still follow the sports teams from Chicago and root those Blackhawks to win their championship and the Bears to do what the Bears can do.
That's a nice way of putting it with the Bears.
Well, Raj, our listeners, we've had some time and looked at your website and looked at some things that you've accomplished and what have you, but our listeners don't know you as well as we've gotten to study up and get to know you a little bit. So if you could walk us through kind of a quick synopsis of who you are and what you've done to get where you are.
Well, I'm a personal injury workers' comp attorney out of Chicago. So car accidents, if you get hurt at work, medical malpractice, that's what my firm does. I got one partner, and then we have two associates that work for us. To get where we are, the best thing to think about it is we look to see what everybody else did, and we did the opposite. I know that sounds kind of a funny way of saying things, but the way I always looked at it was, if you follow the herd, you're just part of the noise and you're kind of doing it. If you're off in your own little world doing your own thing, then everybody's going to notice you a lot more, no matter how small or things were, especially in the beginning, because when we started off in the beginning, we didn't have the resources we have now. We were just trying in the beginning. The best way to put it was, when we first started, me and my partner were sharing a small office. We answered our own phones and did all that stuff. So
just like a John Grisham book, you started off in humble surroundings, as they all start out, it seems like, in John Grisham book, until they get the right case.
Yeah, so the thing for us was we had to figure out ways, how do we stand out with people that can claim, oh, we're bigger, we have more resources, how do we stand out? So we try to be as different as possible. And we did that from our advertising and from everything else. One of the best examples I got is that we do a lot more with giving back to the community instead of spending money on TV advertisements. And what I mean by that is this. We'll reach out to community unions. We'll reach out to various non-for-profits and things like this and work with them to create events which will benefit either their members or the people they want to benefit. And at the same time, we get the advertising we want out of it. And it's better advertising because people don't feel like we're not trying to sell them something. We're just saying, hey, we're here. If you need help, talk to us.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, and I love your approach. You know, it seems to me there's so many people out there that that fear takes over. In other words, your attitude of being different, owning the fact that you're different, being proud of the fact that you're different, and having confidence that what you're doing that's different will make a difference out there in a good way, I think is just awesome because, you know, I had the pleasure to be out in Hollywood on a book with Brian Tracy, Transform, and one of the authors was from a small town in South Dakota. It was a dentist office that was struggling. You know, I often say to people, we're different stripes of the same zebra. You know, I'm a personal injury attorney like you. This guy was a dentist. But what he did was he did a children's event. Had nothing to do with his dental practice. It was an event for the community to give back, and his practice has just exploded in growth because of the goodwill built by that sort of thing. So it sounds that's your approach, that you try to do good events out there, build some goodwill along the way, and as a result, you're well recognized by a lot of people. Does that kind of sum it up a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, like for example, we're coming out with a couple of books in the next 2 weeks, and one of them is not even there's no advertising. It's just about how to buy car insurance. And the only reason why we're doing some of this stuff is that we notice out there people either have misinformation or no information, and they're running blind. And how do we help them out? And it's not that expensive of a marketing thing because we're not spending thousands and thousands of dollars on a TV ad saying, you're injured, call us now. Instead, we're taking the opposite approach. We want to educate you on everything. And then if you ever do have questions, legal questions, give us a call. And
Great.
It works so much better.
You know, that's
and we get clients we like. And we also get clients we like. That's the beauty of it.
Hey, you know what? There's something to be said for that. You know, we can't, you know, when we're young lawyers or young budding entrepreneurs, there's a tendency to take anything that comes our way. And it took a few years for myself, I must confess, to be able to say no, and to say no when it wasn't the right chemistry with the client. Like you just said, you have clients that they may not be your best friends, but at least you feel good about. You feel good about their cause, and I think that's important. That, you know, it's okay that you have some quiet time because you never know around the corner you may get the very special client that you've been waiting for. But if you have your table full with everything that comes in the door, then guess what? You know, when the good case comes in, you may not have the time to devote to it as you need to, you know, that sort of thing. So what other advice do you have for our listeners out there? Because your event approach and your kind of personal touch approach, it seems very awesome.
Well, if I took your lead-in when you were talking about networking, that is probably one of the most important things. I mean, always go out there and network. One of the things I used to do, when I was actually in law school, I actually did this thing, and it kind of set me apart was I put a small CV on the back of my business card. And now what we do, which is slightly different, is on our business cards, we put on there what we actually do. We just don't put down attorney at law. We put down actually what we do.
I do the same on my card. It says personal injury, business law, family law. It instantly lets them look at me and my law firm as to what we do.
Yeah, and then the other thing also we do is I look to see what other people are doing in marketing, but not other lawyers. I go outside my field and I look to other professions totally. Like I like to see what, for example, it's just a Christmas time, so I like to see what all the people who are selling electronics, like Best Buy, is doing and everything else. Because they sometimes have the best ads that you can retool for yourself, and they won't be as expensive because you don't need to do the same production levels they do. But you get better results or the same results. And that's one of the things I recommend for anybody is survey the land, but don't survey your own field. Because if you survey the field, you're going to follow the herd. I mean, if we followed the herd, we'd have a TV advertisement that said, "Are you injured? Call me now. Call me now."
Well,
we're finding it hard for you. But
and let me just tag into that aspect here is that my co-host, Brian Kaiser, is great when he gets out in networking events of standing up and basically saying that his and his Growth Coaching Systems program is about excellence, is becoming all you want to be. I mean, who wants to be the baseball team that's just the 500 team? Of course not. We want to win the championship. Who wants to be just another lawyer out there that's making an average, decent living? I know a lot of lawyers that want to be just that person. Who wants to be just average? You know, we're bred in America to be excellent, to be all that we can be, and it seems like the consistent messages. I love your approach. You're basically taking an out-of-box approach, which many entrepreneurs would learn a lot from, is to take these out-of-box approaches, look at other industries, as suggested here, put yourself out there in positive goodwill connections that aren't about the dollar at the moment. It's not about the deal. It's about the relationship. It's about the goodwill. So those are my kind of thoughts feeding off your comments. I think they're all excellent comments.
I mean, the other thing also is you got to have passion, man. You got to have passion for what you do. For example, since we deal with injured people, I have a lot of passion for these people when they get hurt either at work or car accidents, whatever it is, because I can actually identify if it was one of my loved ones, like my parents or my wife or my kid or something else. And that passion is what comes out. And then when you talk to people and when you're doing all these other things, people will see your passion. And it's not about the product in terms of what results have you got in the past. What people want to know is, are you going to take care of me? Are you going to make sure that I'm protected? And that's where the passion and the
not what you do for others, what are you going to do for me? Not what you've done in the past, what are you going to do for me? Right, and that requires passion, It does, and it requires an actual interest, and it requires you to do that. And that's what a lot of people have to figure out is, what is my passion? And it might be in the field you like. You might like the field. You might like certain very specific parts of the field. Focus on that and develop that, and that will become your niche, and that will become your marketing thing. Like, we focus heavily on the medical treatment for our clients and make sure their medical treatment's taken care of and everything, which I don't know how it's in Houston, but there's a lot of law firms here which kind of put it out to the wayside. But our clients love that because that's what they're most nervous about. I'm hurt. I'm hurting. Can you help me out with that aspect of it? Right, exactly. And, it's legal and ethical, of course, to do letters of protection because, justice is supposed to be blind. So that means whether you're rich or poor, young, you're 20 years old, you just moved out from mom and dad and you're on your own apartment, and then you're rear-ended at a stoplight and you're injured, and you may be injured bad, and you're worried about losing income from your job, and my God, you don't have medical insurance maybe, and you need help. And that's how lawyers like yourself and myself help and make a difference. And, probably the greatest compliment is that we really care for our clients or customers, because that feeling of caring, that feeling of building rapport in a real way, in a genuine way, goes all to the know, like, and trust and the success that follows, it seems.
And then the other thing part of that is that because I have clients of mine, years ago I took care of them, and now they're still sending me friends of theirs when they get injured or hurt or something, or people they know because of the level of service they got and everything else. But the main thing you have to also make sure, and this is a very important thing a lot of people forget, is you have to also focus on your support staff and everyone else around you who's pushing your marketing or who's pushing your business or who's representing your business, from the lowest person to the top person.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
So true.
And, like to often say that
true.
It takes a village or a team always. Brian, your thoughts, your questions.
Well, what I'm hearing is awesome because it goes right along with what we do here at Growth Coaching Systems Network. And Growth Coaching Systems is we work with our clients on helping them to position themselves by providing their prospective market and their audience with value, with exceptional value. And sounds like what Raj has done is gone out and done the legwork and the research that it takes to be able to provide his audience with that exceptional value that they're not going to be able to get anywhere else.
Well, and
position himself above the noise, as he put it, into a level of, I really care about you and I really want to take care of you, and this is the value that we bring to you by being able to do these things.
Yeah, whether it's trying to separate from the white noise, as you like to call it, or the herd, as our guest likes to call it, the passion. Let me just comment a sec there, especially for the young folks out there. Whatever you're going to do, you're going to do it for 8, 10, 12, or more hours a day, for 5, 6, days a week, if not more. And when you think about it, especially if you're young, the passion seems to be the key. Find an industry that you like, because you're going to spend so much time with it. The only way that you're going to set yourself apart, the only way you're going to build that true business credibility to excel and be all that you can be, is to have the passion. You have to have the passion.
If I can add something to that, the one thing I tell people is I'm a very lucky man, and they ask me, why are you lucky? And I say, because every day I get to play. And like, what do you mean by that? And they always ask me,
good point. Good point.
What do you mean by that? And then I explain it this way. I love what I do so much that it's not work for me. And because it's not work for me, it's enjoyment. You know, I'm not waking up and I'm like, oh God, I have to go to work today and do this.
You get to use your brain and your expertise and your skill to help people that thank you for getting good results and for giving them peace of mind.
My wife likes to tease me about it sometimes. Says, "Hey, honey, you can't play anymore today. You got to come home."
Right? Oh! I thought I was the only lawyer with long hours. It's good to see our guests in the same arena.
Yeah,
we all get in trouble for that.
And I think business coaches do.
Yeah, everybody does. But the thing is, when you really love what you do, you will excel at it. Not only will you excel at it, you won't be as tired. You won't be as disgruntled, and that'll come across. And it's a cyclical thing. And sometimes it's just a minor tweak. Sometimes it's just changing who you want, you know, in terms of clients. Sometimes it's just changing minor directions in your business. You don't need to jump careers and change careers necessarily to find that happiness.
And that's an interesting point as we come to year-end and as we start the monologue with the reflection this week and last. And, you know, always it seems when you get around New Year's, that's what you ought to be doing, is reflecting on the year behind, looking to the year ahead. And, you know, there's an old saying that, you know, you can't do the same things and really expect different results. And so if you're satisfied with your life, if you're living your true dream life, of course, continue doing what you're doing, expand what you're doing, and let it all blossom. On the other hand, if you're not, that's where, as you suggest right now, that you got to sometimes tweak things or change things or learn that maybe you're trying to spread yourself too thin and be all things to all people, and just really try to get the niche you really like. If you really, really like, in your example, you know, the motor vehicle cases, then maybe you don't take the industrial accident cases, that sort of thing. So, any other thoughts before we go to our second commercial break?
The only other thing I would add is make sure you have good people around you who can always be there to support you, and also to be there when you are actually, you might feel stressed out, you might feel a little down, who can be there as moral support more than anything else.
Oh, I like that one. That's a good one.
And you'll be surprised how much it is. Like, I'm lucky because my law partner here, we bounce ideas off each other. We're like a moral support for each other many times.
No, that's great. And I've got a 5-year paralegal that's like family that we just took on a cruise on our 20th anniversary, because she is like family. But it's a comfort blanket to know. And I know, Brian, you've got great support staff and people around you.
Yeah.
Part of the problem is if you're not in the industry, or if you don't practice in the area of law or whatever it might be, you'll never understand it as well as somebody who's actually in that same type of situation. So you should surround yourself with positive people who are, for example, in my situation, lawyers who might do personal injury, workers' comp, and who have their own practice. Why? Because we all understand the same struggles, so we're all leaning on each other when we have our down days, and we're all cheering for each other when we have our good days. And that
we're
really
all kind of in the same struggles and boats, and I think that last point is also to emphasize that, you know, this is not a straight line progression. You don't start out in business and then once things grab, it all goes upward and onward at an accelerating pace, and and everything flows.
Movie.
You know, it doesn't work that way. You know, you can have ups and downs, and especially, for example, with our guests here, Raj and myself, as personal injury attorneys, we're mostly doing that on a contingency fee, which means we have some months that are great months, and then we have other months that we're putting money in cases, we're putting time in cases, and we're not reaching settlements or recoveries at the courthouse. And so, it comes in different speeds. And, just because you have some delay on what you want as your dreams or your life doesn't mean you're not going to get there. It's never too late to start, as they say, and it isn't where you start, it's where you finish. And so the journey along the way should hopefully be a good journey, and every day is a learning day. Maybe somebody's listening to this show today and they learn what they need to know to all of a sudden make the big changes going into 2015. So any other thoughts now, Brian, before we go to break?
No. I think that we've done really good on this segment. I'd ask Raj to hold on. I think Tony, our producer, has a few words to say to him, and we'll look at getting into a little more conversation when we come back from the commercial break.
Sounds great.
Join Dr. Alan Simberg and his guests every Tuesday from 3 to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time on Life-Changing Insights. Life-Changing Insights is a show dedicated to providing its listeners with self-improvement information that has a positive effect on an individual's mental, physical, and spiritual being, as well as unresolved relationship issues. For more information or to be a guest on Life-Changing Insights, go to Life-Changing Insights with DrAlanSimberg.com. Life-Changing Insights every Tuesday from 3 to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on the Tough Talk Radio Network.
Feeling burnt out or lost on where to go next? Feeling like you own a job instead of a business, or that your business is running you instead of you running it? Expert business advisor Mike Calderwood can help. Mike uses a personalized, strategic, and proven approach to help you identify what is and isn't working in your business. He'll then help you establish an action plan so your business can thrive. Mike Calderwood, providing you straightforward solutions to gain a real advantage in your business. Learn more at MikeCalderwood.net.
Did you know that an estimated 52 million Americans listened to Internet radio in the last month, or that weekly Internet radio audience has increased 60% over the last year, and that more than 8 in 10 people are online from any location? Tough Talk Radio Network is a company dedicated to providing a platform that allows opportunities for guests, hosts, and sponsors to market themselves through the Internet radio medium, where they can be heard by millions. To find out how Tough Talk Radio Network can help you, go to toughtalkradionetwork.com.
If you know someone who wants the legal A-team on their side, have them call on Altenburn and Associates, the Legal Eagle, today. David Altenburn is an experienced and recognized top lawyer in Houston who will put an eagle's eye to protecting the client's best interests at all times. For any personal injury, family law, or business law concern, Altenburn and Associates can help with our connections that count and make a difference for great results. We work hard for the justice our clients deserve, earning client trust and opponent respect, one case at a time. For legal help, call 281-904-6330 today.
Hello again. This is David Altenburn, the Legal Eagle. We're back here for just a few moments with our first guest, Raj Kanuru, who has been talking. He's a fellow attorney like myself in the personal injury field. He's out of Chicago, Illinois, and he's been teaching us how he makes his practice grow by special events in the community, building goodwill that way, and in networking, and in really trying to set himself apart from the herd. So, Raj, if you could please tell our audience how they can get in touch with you if they wish to follow up with you further.
Oh, yeah. Give me a call, either my office, 312-855-9330, or you can email me at rkanuru@kplawonline.com, rkanuru at kplaw, L-A-W, online, online.com. And I tell people this all the time. Email me questions about marketing or anything. I love to talk marketing. So I love to talk, because when I talk to other people, I get great ideas from them, and I get great ideas, and I love to hear how their ideas worked out. And how many times does a lawyer ever tell you, I'll do it for free, and I love to talk chit-chat with you?
I thought, hey, there for a second, I thought you were stealing my lines. No, that's great stuff. I like to say you build goodwill one person at a time every day, and it doesn't matter about the dollars. So you've been a great guest. Thank you so much for being on our show, and nothing but the best of success of you going forward is my wish for you. Okay. Now, we're going to go to our second guest, and it's another legal person. I feel honored today to have a show that's heavily on the legal folks. Today,
I know you got to feel right at home, Dave.
Well, I certainly did with our first guest. We'll see now with our second, who's Doug Knoll, who's a developer of online negotiation mastery for the legal pro. It sounds like it's mediation advice. They say, Abraham Lincoln says the greatest value of a lawyer is to be a peacemaker through negotiation. They all see us as warriors, as fighting the litigation and battles in the courtroom, which we also do. But it's going to be great to talk to someone who is a mastery of negotiation skills. So, do we have Mr. Knoll on the line right now?
I'm here.
Well, good. Could you tell us your journey, please, and how you got to do what you're doing today? Give our audience a little understanding of yourself.
So I grew up in Southern California and went to an Ivy League college, Dartmouth. And in the 1970s, if you were an English literature major or a humanities major and you weren't pre-med, you went to law school. So that's what I did. I came back to California.
The family model in your family was, you will go to law school, my son.
Something like that, right. So
I love it. That's awesome.
So I came back to California and went to law school and did well. I was on the law review and graduated with honors. And again, in those days, if you were a top law graduate, you ended up working for a judge for a year. So I did that too. And I still didn't know if I wanted to be a lawyer, but I ended up, after my year of clerking for this appellate judge in a law firm in Central California, where I was groomed to be a big-time trial lawyer. And I joined that firm in September of 1978. I tried my first jury trial in November of 1978. My second trial started in December of 1978, which was a 7-month defense of a $36 million securities fraud case in the Southern District of California down in San Diego.
So you were bred to be a warrior.
I was bred to be a warrior.
Yeah,
it's
interesting. I graduated Michigan State University in 1978 and saw us bring the championship home a year later with Magic Johnson, then went on to law school at University of Texas, got out in 1982. So I'm a little bit behind you as you're fighting your first big battles.
That's right. So for 22 years, that's what I did. I was a big-time trial lawyer, not personal injury like you. I did very complex business and financial cases, primarily in federal court.
Sure.
We were a bankruptcy litigation firm, so I did a lot of cases where the reference would be withdrawn from the bankruptcy court into the federal court. And I represented debtors and creditors, and I sued insurance companies. Don't like them very much.
Yeah. We're not totally in different worlds because my first 6 years was with business litigation firms.
Oh, there you go.
It's all been litigation, and you talk bankruptcy. One of our largest cases was the Melvin Lane Powers discharge of bankruptcy case, in which we got a non-discharge finding
Good for you.
on a $100 million estate due to fraudulent conveyances and a variety of transactions that had occurred and uncovered with real estate and other properties. So you live in a world that is a true lawyer's world.
Yeah, I did that for 22 years. The story of how I kind of got out of that was that I took up the martial arts in my mid-30s, became a second-degree black belt in my early 40s. I was 41. And at that time, my teacher said, "You're done. You're too aggressive. You're too arrogant. You're too full of yourself. You're going to hurt somebody."
So you took the warrior to a different level. You took it to the physical level. It wasn't just a mental warrior.
Right. So we used to say we break bones, not boards. And so here I am, 41 years old, 6'1", 225 pounds, secondary black belt, take no prisoners, right? And my teacher says, go study Tai Chi. Don't come back until you...
I was going to say, now you got to somehow learn the other side to become a negotiation expert. You got to soften that warrior side.
That's right. So what happened was Tai Chi completely twisted me around because Tai Chi has two paradoxes. The first is the softer you are, the stronger you are.
Yes.
And
then there's something about speak quietly and carry a big stick.
That's right. Well, don't even carry a big stick because Tai Chi is all about being soft and vulnerable to be strong and powerful. Totally paradoxical to my reality.
Sure.
So, but I studied it, and then I began to teach it. And one day I was in the courtroom cross-examining somebody in my own inimitable asshole way, and the thought came to me, what the hell am I doing in here? And I took off after that trial on a river trip, and after that trip I kind of decided that maybe trial work wasn't really where I wanted to be for the rest of my life. And when I came back to my office the Monday after that vacation, I heard a public service announcement on our local public radio station for a new master's degree in peacemaking and conflict studies being offered at the West Coast Mennonite University. I'm not a Mennonite, but in my region. And it intrigued me. So I signed up, and I became a full-time master's student, a full-time law professor, and a full-time trial lawyer, and that was the end of my first marriage.
Okay. Well, not that you had your plate too full or anything like that.
No, nothing like that. So I ended up, to make a very long story short, I left a very lucrative trial practice in 2000 to open up my own peacemaking and mediation practice. And since that time, I've been a full-time mediator. I do arbitrations too, and I work in a variety of different contexts. And I began to study negotiation in a very serious way.
Yeah.
And what I have learned is that lawyers are really lousy negotiators. And in fact,
I agree. I'm a certified mediator
Kaiser,
myself.
Yeah, Randy Kaiser, who's a friend of mine and a guy out of Menlo Park, has confirmed this in some of his groundbreaking empirical studies that show that plaintiffs' lawyers make the bad settlement decisions 50% of the time, and they lose their clients on average $75,000 every time they make a bad settlement decision. Defense lawyers are wrong 30% of the time, and get this: when they're wrong on an average $1.4 million.
Whoa! Yeah, they sometimes pay out some big dollars when they just. As I like to say as a certified mediator, the attorneys come into the mix with a different fear factor. The fear factor of the plaintiff's counsel is, oh my goodness, the time and money I've put in this case, what if it zeroes out at the courthouse? It may have spread to $1 million, but it may be zero.
Right.
The alternative is the defense counsel looks at it far different. Their fear factor is, if I get popped on this case at the courthouse, I might lose the client that's paying me $1 million
That's exactly
a year.
Right.
The insurance company, the corporation.
That's right. So what in that description, what you've got are emotional factors that are going into the decision making, and so I became a student of human decision making.
Sure.
And
human factors, we like to call human decision
well,
making.
actually, not even just human factors. Just how do we go about? How do human beings go about making decisions especially when faced with great uncertainty, risk, ambiguity, and high emotion? And it turns out we're not very good at it. As a species, we're pretty bad at it. Okay. And that's part of the reason why lawyers tend to make bad decisions in settlement. So what Randy showed is that if you take either formal mediation training or formal negotiation training after law school, forget the negotiation law school, it's garbage, the professors don't know what they're talking about, that the chances of you making a bad decisional error is reduced dramatically.
Yeah, let me just interject for a second.
Negotiation.
Let me just interject for a second.
Yeah.
Once I got certified as a mediator 15, 20 years ago, I'm a big believer, exactly as you state, that every lawyer coming out of law school within 5 years of graduating ought to take mediation training and courses, because the extra communication skills, the extra decision-making analysis skills, the extra psychology skills that you gain is invaluable to being a better litigator.
Absolutely.
And that's where I'm a full-time litigator and a part-time mediator.
Right.
But I agree 100% with what you just said as far as the importance of those skill sets.
So, anyways, the long story, to make even a longer story even shorter, that led me to figuring out how do I deliver an advanced legal negotiation course focused only on lawyers, not on people trying to buy a used car or sell a house. What do we do? And so that led to me putting up a year and a half ago a 9-hour online course, soup to nuts, advanced legal negotiation training that any lawyer can watch online. Over 9 hours, 45 lectures, and a big ebook.
Where are those courses available? Across the nation or just out in California?
Nope, it's on the internet. Anybody can take it. I've got CLE credits for California and New York, and I can get them for anybody else that wants to take them. And
for the benefit of our audience, that's CLE is Continuing Legal Education
that's
credits.
Right.
Where in the state of Texas, you have to have essentially 15 hours per year of accredited Continuing Legal Education credits.
Correct.
And a certain amount in ethics in order to stay licensed for the next year.
And it's true in every state. We have our requirements here in California. So anyways, that's what led me, and now I go around the country teaching. I teach advanced mediation training to mediators and advanced negotiation training to lawyers, and that's what I do, as well as, of course, mediate and arbitrate and do my prison project and stuff
and
like
do
that.
you do those through the state bar associations and the local bar associations?
I do, sometimes I do. Oftentimes it's either the the official CLE provider for the state, or it might be a bar association, or it might be a private membership association, or it might even be a private law firm or a corporate counsel. Corporate staff will call me in.
Well, what questions do you have for our guest, Mr. Kaiser?
Well, I've been listening to the two seasoned attorneys go through the thoughts of the day and how they journey through and the cases and everything. I just want to hit on, Doug has a couple of books out there that I think the titles of them are very intriguing. One of them is Elusive Peace: How Modern Diplomatic Strategies Could Better Resolve World Conflicts. I would like to hear a little bit about that. And he also has another one, Sex, Politics, and Religion at the Office, The New Competitive Advantage. So, Doug, could you just enlighten us a little bit on those two pieces? They sound really intriguing. I've looked them up a little bit here online while we've been talking.
So Elusive Peace, I ended up writing Elusive Peace from the perspective of a professional, highly trained professional mediator, highly experienced, looking at international conflict mediation and trying to understand why is it that the International Foreign Diplomatic Corps has such a hard time resolving international conflicts. That they in many ways they are less complex than legal disputes. In many ways they're more complex than legal disputes. And it turns out that the people who are called in to mediate these disputes are grossly incompetent. And the Foreign Diplomatic Corps in general disdains mediation as a process for resolving conflict. And so in that book, I track a number of disputes and mediators and show here's the standard of practice, for example, in commercial mediation, and here's what we see in the international arena, and why this is unnecessary.
Well, one of the things, let me interject a second there, at least my take, is that as a certified mediator, you learn that so many times human conflict is driven and gets out of control by ego and emotion. And it seems to me what I read and see in the media on all these international disputes is it's the inability, we have what we call it in mediations, let's have a tweak at the end of a mediation for some side or the other to save face. And it seems like the egos and emotions in such a public arena as an international dispute is that folks have a hard time putting that ego aside and putting that emotion aside to get a real deal.
Well, that's absolutely true, but it's no different than dealing with a highly complex, emotional, litigated dispute. Really, I mean, because human behavior is human behavior.
Correct.
The problem is the mediators who are doing the work are unskilled. You and I have far more training than a Kofi Annan. He's. I mean, I hate to say this, but the guy he's incompetent as a mediator.
That's interesting. And
that's right.
And the thing about decision making is when you really study and analyze it, see if you agree with this, is that we're all taught as we grow up about, and I've touched on this in some other shows, we're taught that you appeal to certain audiences in a rational way, a strongly rational way, and I want to touch upon, and some in an emotional way, but the most recent neuropsych studies show that deep in our core, people make decisions based on safety for them and their family, and then rationalize often the decision around that safety decision. Someone stays in a bad marriage because they internally analyze that it's safer than going through the difficult, painful process of a divorce and its financial impacts or emotional impacts or social impacts.
We are 98% emotional and 2% rational.
Okay.
And so mediators have to be able to deal with that, with the fact that we cannot solve emotional problems with logic.
Right, and let me touch that just a quick second, and I know, Brian, I'll back off here, the lawyers, as we banter back and forth, but...
Oh, no, I'm learning and enjoying.
Okay. The point here is that when you said at the outset, you stated, Mr. Knoll, that lawyers tend to be bad negotiators. My experience has been there's some brilliant lawyers out there, but when they get in the negotiation arena, they don't have A, patience, or B, they're so rational driven, logical driven, that they're just, someone has to see our point of view because it's right. Being right is not what it's all about. being reasonable is sometimes much more important than being
and
right.
Let me just point. You're absolutely correct. And let me just point out that when somebody says we're right, that's emotion. That's not logic. That's an emotional statement. We're right. That's a strongly embedded belief structure that is embedded in the limbic system of the brain. It has nothing to do with the implications of the dorsal medial prefrontal cortex. It's just not there. So lawyers are just as emotional as anybody, probably worse for the most. And that's why negotiation preparation is so critical, because it takes the emotionality out of the decision making during the negotiation. But
like litigation tree analysis, which will analyze everything from what if the judge admits this piece of evidence or doesn't. If the judge doesn't, what other pieces of evidence make up the point?
You're singing out of my songbook, because when I was trying cases, I planned for every single eventuality that could occur in a case, including what happens if something happens that I totally didn't expect. How am I going to respond to that?
And that made you a master in the courtroom and also a master in negotiation.
Yeah. That's right.
Well, just real quick, Doug, touch on sex, politics, and religion at the office, the new competitive advantage. We've got about a minute left in this segment, so if you can touch on that quickly.
Really quickly, that book is 20 years ahead of its time. My colleague John Bogart and I really got interested in how diversity in the workplace was getting a bad name, and so we studied the problem, and we basically wrote a book that says, look, if you want to be in the top 10% in performing companies, whether you're listed or not, you need to embrace diversity and look at it as a tool for unleashing the creativity in your workforce. And just very briefly, if you quash diversity, if you are shutting people up, what do you think is going to happen when you circle people into the room and you've got to make some big, tough business decisions and you need the best thinkers in the room working? They're going to shut down. Because
and they're not going to give you any advice.
So what we did, we make the argument that diversity unleashes creativity. It unleashes a huge competitive advantage, and in the book we talk about how do you do that? What do you have to do in order to manage diversity to unleash that creativity?
Wow, that's awesome.
And you're underscoring again that it takes a team to really accomplish great things.
That's right.
The team takes excellent people surrounding you. Well, Doug, tell us where we can get the books, and then tell our audience also how they can contact you before we head into the commercial break.
The books are available at all the usual places. Probably not many bookstores because, they're not international bestsellers, and that's all the bookstores carry these days. But you can certainly get it on Indie Books, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, the usual places. And they're all available there. In terms of getting a hold of me, really simple. Doug, D-O-U-G, at DougNoll, DougNoll.com. Really simple.
Well, thank you so much, and you've got so much energy, and it's obvious you were a tiger in the courtroom, and it's obvious that you're doing a great, great service out there to educate the world on how they can be peacemakers, how they can negotiate effectively, and look at it as a science of compromise and getting good results or great results. So we really appreciate all your thoughts.
You bet. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, and we'll head into commercial break and finish out the show right after these messages.
Feeling burnt out or lost on where to go next? Feeling like you own a job instead of a business, or that your business is running you instead of you running it? Expert business advisor Mike Calderwood can help. Mike uses a personalized, strategic, and proven approach to help you identify what is and isn't working in your business. He'll then help you establish an action plan so your business can thrive. Mike Calderwood, providing you straightforward solutions to gain a real advantage in your business. Learn more at MikeCalderwood.net.
Are you an entrepreneur? Are you where you want to be? Do you believe that if you build it, they will come? Unfortunately, entrepreneurship doesn't work that way, and that's why you need to read Famous Isn't Enough. In this book, you'll find real-life situations and lessons learned. When all is said and done, there's nothing better than being your own boss. Remember, nothing just happens. You have to put in the work. Famous Isn't Enough is your roadmap. Get your copy today at www.famousisn'tenough.com.
If you know someone who wants the legal A-team on their side, have them call on Altenburn and Associates, the Legal Eagle, today. David Altenburn is an experienced and recognized top lawyer in Houston who will put an eagle's eye to protecting the client's best interests at all times. For any personal injury, family law, or business law concern, Altenburn and Associates can help with our connections that count and make a difference for great results. We work hard for the justice our clients deserve, earning client trust and opponent respect, one case at a time. For legal help, call 281-904-6330 today.
Well, David, once again, we have delivered. I think it was a great show. I promised people exceptional value today. We had two rock star guests, both in your field, in your neighborhood. We've had leading up to this show, we've had mostly business coaches in there, so that was something that I got to banter a little bit more. But today we had the people from the legal profession on, and just from the message that you started out with on the show, it's about the relationship. It's about the journey. It's about surrounding yourself with excellent people. It's about keeping your mind focused on being excellent. And I think that our guests really brought that out and exuded even a little bit more about how excellence can be given to clients and demographics out there when we're trying to.
Absolutely, Brian. And it's interesting and fascinating to me, actually, that they had quite different approaches. Our first guest, Raj, out of Chicago, Illinois, had what I call an external approach. Get out in the community, get out in events, get into networking out with other folks, and through that you built goodwill, you built relationships, you built a likability, a trust factor, a no like and trust factor that then generates into great business with people that he gets along with. Our second guest, Doug Knoll, to me had an internal approach. There's an old saying in being a trial lawyer that it's all about preparation, preparation, preparation. And our second guest exuded that philosophy. He became a master warrior from a very young age, handling major complex business litigation in the courtrooms, and then made an about-face mid-career 20 years later, where then he goes into, Tai Chi and ends up changing his philosophy of life and becoming soft, and then now conducts speeches across the country and coursework online on how you can master negotiation, and has 2 books out there that talks about conflict resolution in an international big picture sphere, and also has a second book that talks more about business politics and chemistry and the team that you need to build of diversity for great creativity. So we had 2 lawyers, kind of the legal side of our show, and yet they had so different approaches, and they both are at top of their field. So to me, it was a fascinating show from our guests.
The foundation, though, that both of them had, which was really, always on my mind because of, the tagline that we have on the book that I did with Brian Tracy, helping people live better lives and run better businesses. Both of those guys' focus was on giving value and helping people. Yes. Helping people to get the best results in a negotiation, helping people to get the best outcomes when they're injured and hurt. And I think that we can learn from one of our gurus, Ziegler. If you help enough people, then you can get where you want to go in life. And it's really about those relationships and helping people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well stated. And it's about the passion. You could not listen to our guests today, or really any of our guests to date on our show, and not feel the passion that each one of these guests have for their approach to helping other people out there, delivering value. And so to me, it was another great opportunity to educate and entertain and encourage and excite our audience to take some of these tips of these people that have been very successful, take these tips and use them in your life and use them in your business and see if they get you the results and the dream life that you wish to shape for yourself.
Exactly. Well, I know we're winding up the show, so I want to send one more shout out to Michelle Sissom for her Stevie Award, to Judy Holberman for helping promote our show, for the rock star, Mr. Mike Calderwood, for also promoting our show and blasting us out through to the Twitter feeds. And
let me second all those endorsements. Thank you so much. And
then direct everybody to our new website for our book, A Journey to Success. You can get it at www.journey2success.com, and you can sign up for an application there, and Dave and I will get that to you. We will also link that, the ability of that, to the website as well at legaleagleandthecoachradio.com and legaleagleandthecoach.com. So great show. It has been really enjoyable with our guests, and we will see you next week.
You have been listening to Legal, Eagle, and the Coach with David Altenburn and Brian Kaiser on the Tough Talk Radio Network. Special thanks to all of our sponsors. If you'd like to be a sponsor or a guest, visit toughtalkradionetwork.com.